Bowen show, a brand new show on Facebook, and I am already working on my, I believe it's this 16th or 17th. I'm kind of losing count now. But this young man sitting here, fixing to talk to, is maybe a stranger to a lot of you folks that follow me and my family that are liking this page, but I'm sure a lot of you know who Alan Oneal is. If you've ever heard of the Dixie Melody Boys and Ed Oneal is Alan's dad. And Alan, it's good for you to be on the show today. How you doing, man?
Thank you, Bobby. It's good to be here. I've enjoyed watching your program, and it's really kind of neat that you've got this going on, and you're kind of reminiscing back to a lot of people you know, and kind of catching up on some people you haven't probably seen in a while, and then letting the people kind of in on some things that they probably would never hear any otherwise.
That's true. I mean, there's a lot of stories that I've never heard from people that I've interviewed before, and I've just been amazed at where they came from, how they got started, and all the connections they had. It's just been really cool, eye-opening to me too. And I'm sure a lot of people out there that are watching. So we're going to find out some stuff about Alan Oneal too today. So
let's tell you, it's all the good stuff.
We're going to dig up some dirt, man. Alan, you can just start out like everybody else. I always ask everybody where you were born, and if you want to say the year so they can figure out how old you are, that'll be fine too. And just talk about when you, what your musical influences were at an early age, and what made you, other than your dad, already being singing in a quartet, what made you think this is what I want to do?
Wow, man. Let's see. I was born in 1958, so in May of this year, I'll be 62 years old.
Woo, man.
Never thought I'd see that. That was an old man at one time. It's not quite so old anymore.
It was old when we were about 30, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was born in Raleigh, North Carolina, and as far back basically as I can remember, my dad has been in the gospel music business. I think he tabled it for a while in the late 60s, but I really don't remember a time that he wasn't singing gospel music. So I was raised in gospel music, and all that 4-part harmony, piano player, Southern gospel music was pretty much the way it was. The earliest I can remember ever, and I don't know that I remember singing so much as I remember all the pictures people had showed me that I was probably about 5.5 years old, and I was standing in a chair, and I don't really know if I sang what I sang or anything. I remember the pictures people took, and I do remember I had a little plastic black mustache in, so I wanted to look like a bass singer evidently. Yeah. So we had that, and I didn't really sing a whole lot in the band up until probably the early 80s.
Yeah, I've seen the old gospel singing Jubilee. You guys used to be on there, and most of the time you were just kind of sitting in the back playing the acoustic with the band.
Guitar, that's right. I actually, back in the original Dixie Melody Boy days, I basically set up sound and set up back then it was called a record table. And you had about the only thing on the record table, you had records, and you had a 8x10 glossy that everybody bought so you could have something to sign at a concert. But that's what I'd done for, I don't know, from the time I was about 12 years old until somewhere around 17, maybe somewhere I think it was my junior year in high school. We took a Christmas break, and Daddy says, when we go back out, I don't need somebody just to set up records and sound system anymore. You need to learn how to play an instrument. So why don't you learn how to play an acoustic guitar? So we had 30 days before we went back out again, and I didn't have a guitar, so we looked around, and I found an old guitar. And as a matter of fact, I've still got that guitar. It's the only guitar really I actually own right now, other than the one I use on stage some. I'm not a big guitar player. Never have been a great guitar player. Played a pretty decent rhythm at one time several years ago. My arthritis has taken over here in the last few years. It don't quite get to make all the chords you used to make. Yeah. But so at the end of the 30 days, went back out with the Dixie Melody Boys, and they had a piano player and a bass player, and I played acoustic. By gosh, there couldn't have been no drums. We didn't really believe in drums in the early days.
That was a sin.
Yeah, that's right. And
That drove all the
only honky tonks had drummers, you know.
That drove all the grandmas out of the building if you had drummers.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so the first 3 or 4 weeks I played, I didn't even have a microphone. Then I graduated to a microphone, and then it wasn't too many more months after that. You know, I bought me a Marcus Berry pickup back in the day and hooked it to the old FG 180 Yamaha, and away we went. So
yeah, man.
that's kind of where it was for years, you know, when I first started playing.
So
playing in the band.
When did you actually start singing full time? When was that?
It was probably right after Antioch Church Choir. Antioch Church Choir, I think Frank was singing tenor. Kent Humphrey was on lead. No, I take that back. Frank was
singing baritone
at that time. And Kent was on lead, and Phil Barker was singing tenor. And right shortly after that whole thing went down, and the song started getting some popularity, we had a music change, and I think Phil left. And when Phil left, I think Daddy heard Frank singing the high part one day and said, "Well, this is going to work great. Alan, you're going to sing baritone." And
I know you sang a few songs, just got up and sing, you know, a couple of songs.
Yeah, I would sing one song a night most of the time.
Did you know how to sing baritone when you
No, I didn't. I hear harmony today, but when I first started, I did not hear harmony. So,
how did that work?
Kent would basically sit down, and we would go through the song, and we'd start at the first note, and I memorized the music part all the way through the end, the baritone part.
Wow.
So, and it never varied. So if everybody come off and said, "Oh, you're dubbing that part," it wasn't me, because I'm singing the same part I've sang since day one. So somebody else had to be doing the dubbing. And it's really hard for me today. I hear it way better today than I did years ago. That's really funny. I hear the high part. Baritone's kind of an unusual part anyway.
It really is. That's kind of crazy way to shift things around, because you got a baritone singer that's moved to tenor, and a guy that's never sang baritone before sings baritone.
Yeah,
it all worked. I mean, y'all sounded great.
It did, and it wasn't too many years after. Actually, probably wasn't that. Not even a year after that, when we started transitioning to the DMB Band thing.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that we were with group after night after night after night, and I wouldn't say all groups sounded the same, but the style was just really the same. Whether it was the Happy Goodman family, the Henson, the Blackwood brothers, it was still that, you know, you could tell it was all, and it was Southern gospel. You could tell it was tied together, you know. And when I was growing up, I really didn't. It was just gospel music. You know, I didn't realize that the world saw it. You know, and even today, gospel music normally means a black gospel.
Right.
And then you have Southern gospel music. Then you have contemporary gospel music. And
when you think of Southern gospel,
country thing.
When you think of Southern gospel, most people think quartet music.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that. So
absolutely.
But there's different styles in Southern gospel. There's country gospel, there's Southern gospel, there's kind of contemporary praise and worship kind of stuff that people do. So it's not just fit into one little mold like quartet. I mean, it can be anything in it, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's and so, you know, probably my favorite singer of all time always will be, always has been. You can ask anybody that knows me very well, is Rusty Goodman.
I knew you was going to say that. I just had a feeling you were going to say that.
I just think, first of all, he would walk in a room and he just oozed class. And he had, you know, and I'm going to tell you, he had a little bit of cockiness about him that I liked. That was the part, you know, he knew he had what it took to do the business. And I liked that part of it. And it was always amazing. And plus, when I was younger, he'd spend time with me. We would sing with the Goodman family, and he'd say, "Alan, go get your guitar. I'm working on a song. I want to play it for you." So I would go get my old guitar, this FG 180 that I've still got. And he would take it and, "What do you think about this right here?" And I remember we were backstage in Little Rock, Arkansas one night, and I don't even remember the building. So we were backstage, and he says, "I've got this." Where was it?
Robinson Auditorium.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
And I was saying, you know, it was really wild. I said, here's a song that I've been working on. Listen to see what you think. And he didn't really care what I thought. He was spending time with me, and I thought that was tremendous.
Yeah.
And he sang a verse and a chorus of Leaving on My Mind. And he didn't have the second verse yet. And it was,
wow.
Man, that was a killer song. And for me, it was
Yeah.
kind of neat to be able to hear in the writing process.
That's really cool. Did
I recorded it later on.
Did you happen to see Chuck Day, the interview I did with Chuck Day?
I saw parts of it, yeah.
He talked about spending time with Rusty when he was a kid and how Rusty took time to help him learn to sing when his voice was going through a change.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of how he mentored him, you know, and it looks like he's, you know, he did that with you too. I mean, he was pretty helpful.
We didn't sing with the Goodmans a lot, but we did enough that he remembered who I was, and or had me convinced he remembered who I was anyway. Yeah. I just thought it was really cool, and I will never forget. We done a live album in Fayetteville, North Carolina one night, and we did "Leaving on My Mind" on the album. And back then, I was not actually singing in the group. I was still playing the acoustic guitar, yeah. And I was singing "Leaving on My Mind." We were going to put it on the live album, and I sang the first verse and the chorus. And the next thing I knew, the band changed keys. Well, nobody had told me this was happening. Mm-hmm. And when they changed keys, of course, I'm looking dumbfounded. You know what's going on, and all of a sudden I hear this voice. Well, and he went on into the second verse, and if I'd have been a schoolgirl, I'd have probably passed out right there on stage.
So Rusty came out and sang it with you?
Came out. It's on our live album. He didn't know I couldn't sing harmony.
Oh,
but we get about halfway through the first verse or the second verse, and so I guess I should be looking for. He hit those great notes and stuff. So we got to the chorus. He said, "Alan, sing harmony with me." When he said, "Alan, sing harmony with me," there's no way he knew just how much terror had run through my body. He just assumed, you know, everybody was like him and could sing harmony. But and if you ever can find the live album, I still have a copy somewhere, and I've had 2 or 3 people come up and, man, you know, you have this copy, but it's a live album of the Dixie Melody Boys, and I'm singing "Leaving on My Mind," and they didn't fix it. They left me in.
So what
did you? They did not fix it, and they left it like that on the album.
What did you do when he said sing harmony? What did you...
I tried, and it was like really bad. And then he realized I couldn't sing harmony, so he said, "Take it back," you know, like that.
Take the lead.
And he done the harmony for himself. But I don't know that I've ever told Tanya Goodman that story or not.
That's a great story, man. That is a great. You know, I can imagine how you felt. You know, your guy you idolize out there, and he comes out there and sing with me, Alan. You know, and that would be like me. I idolize Kenny Henson. You know, and if he came out on stage on a Mid-South concert, hey, sing "Call Me Gone" with me. I'd be freaking out, man.
Yeah, you call me gone, all right.
Yeah, I'm gone. Yeah, that's right.
So there's been a few music. That's probably the single largest musical influence in gospel music, because I've always loved country music. You know, I've always been a George Jones fan, and I like Keith Whitley and some of the older stuff. Of course, I love, you know, I like Florida Georgia Line and all of them. My thing with music, if it's good, I like it all, man. I can listen. Matter of fact, I got playlists that's got Pavarotti in it all the way to George Jones. And when you got a playlist that goes from Pavarotti to George Jones, you're usually covering the gamut.
You know, music has changed a lot, and I'm really into the '90s country, man. That's Alan Jackson and you know, Garth and just George Strait. You know, all that stuff that came out in the '90s. Of course, when I was with Mid-South, we were, you know, Christian country was beginning to really take off,
right?
And so we listen to that kind of stuff all the time. But it's changed a lot, and you know. You can agree with this right here. You know, back in the day when we used to make records, they didn't have anything called tuning the vocals.
Oh, no.
I mean, you had to sing it over and over and over until you got it right, and it just kind of went from there. But now everybody gets tuned, everything's perfect, and but the sad thing is, if I go hear somebody, if I hear a record or a CD now on the radio and it sounds just beautiful, great. I mean. And I'm excited. I want to go hear that person live, and I go hear them live, and it don't sound like the record. I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It really is. I mean, technology is great. What you can do with it now, so much better, easier than the old analog days it used to be when it went to tape. But
back in the day, you could get a mental block in the studio. And I remember, nowadays, if you sing one chorus that's really good, they just use that chorus every time the chorus comes. But they just
fly it over. Yeah.
Back in the day, you had to sing every chorus
and sing it all.
Wayne Hilton produced one of our albums one time, and great singer, great ear. And he was listening when he said, "Alan, that second note in I don't know what I remember in the second chorus is not like the first one. You really need to change it and make it like the first one." Well, 45 minutes later, I still didn't have it right. And I got a mental block on it and couldn't fix it. So we would go to supper, come back, do 3 or 4 more songs, and then go back and fix it. And you might they would have just took a section of it or pinged it,
Yeah, I went through that same kind of thing when we used to record with Word, and John Mays was our producer, and there was a song that Robbie McGee wrote, and I was trying to sing lead on it, and it just wasn't happening. And I got frustrated. And this was the first project when Kent first came with us, and I knew what's a great singer he was and everything, and I got so frustrated. I threw the headphones down and I said, "Let Kent sing it," and I left. Then John Mays comes out there, and I'm sitting outside on a park bench, I'm all frustrated. He comes out there and talks to me and kind of calms me down a little bit, and I come back in there, and I ended up getting it, but it took a while, and it turned out to be a really good song.
Really good country voice. You don't take a back seat to anybody when it comes. Oh man,
I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you, man, because you got one of the best voices I've ever heard.
Well, I tell you, and your kids, man. We worked with you guys out in Canada last year.
Yeah,
at a festival up there. We were with your family, and we were up there with you guys. And it's really, I think it's neat that you can travel with your family like that. And of course, I know your kids are going to grow up one day, and then old mom and pop's going to be out there by yourself trying to figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah, I dread that day.
but it's kind of neat that you have the opportunity to travel with your family like that.
Yeah, it really is. Speaking of the Dixie Melody Boys making that transition to the DMB Band, I talked to Kent a week or so ago when I did an interview with him, and he said that it really wasn't the younger guy's idea. It was your dad, Ed. He really wanted to make the transition to more country.
Yeah, I think one of the things was for years, he was a Southern gospel quartet, and we never, for the lack of a better term, we never really got anywhere with it. We never had a hit song. We never were one of the big ticket groups. So, we were a good stable. We were kind of, I don't know if you follow golf or not, but there's always, there was this guy last name was Hoke. And for 20 years, he was like the third golfer in the world. He never made it but he made a big living. Yeah. But he never made it to the top of the golf world. And I think
he never got the green jacket.
Yeah. The Dixie Melody Boys always made a living, but we never were that Kingsman or the Henson or whatever like that, And I think he was looking something different, something that nobody was doing, and honestly, and I say this every night when we're out today, I said, everybody was listening to I would bet you if you truly polled the audience, 90% of them listened to the country station during the week. But by goodness, they didn't want you singing that,
Yeah.
So
that's true.
So I think we were trying to find music that would have that same style, flair, feeling, taste, but with religious, Christian lyrics or very positive kind of a outlook on life lyrics.
But y'all had a lot of success when you started that because you had Good Old Boys came out, and that was a big song. I mean, everybody loved Good Old Boys, and then Too Much Thunder came out, and that was good. But then it got a little more progressive, a little more rocky with Streetwise, that project. And that one just about did y'all in, didn't it?
Yeah, the biggest thing is,
it was awesome. We used to,
the biggest thing, and
let me tell you, we had 2 favorite groups back when y'all put that project out. It was Restless Heart and you guys. And we listened to those 2 projects all the time on the bus, and we loved them. We loved that style.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. But what's really funny with the Southern gospel station said you guys were too rock and roll to be played on Southern stations.
Yeah.
And then the contemporary stations wouldn't play us because we were too country. So
yeah.
we really, honestly, were at a zero standstill with marketability.
Yeah.
And I think when Benson done the Run Little Brother album, which was the one after that, it had really kind of got to a plateau where there was nobody going to play our music, period.
Right.
I mean, it just was nobody going to play it. I mean, it didn't fit anywhere. Now today you can go back and listen to the Run Little Brother album, or you can listen to the Streetwise album, and people say, wow, you know, Jeff and Sherry do a song like that, you know.
People say, what's wrong with that? Why didn't people like that? You know, today.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So really, you know, that's one of the reasons that when Kent left the group, we were about to starve Slam to death. You want to know the real truth. We went, it was just financially was a burden. When it just was to the point that nobody was getting paid. It just wasn't any money. I mean, it was just all you could do to make expenses. So Daddy did what he had to do, and he knew the Southern gospel background. So he went back and done the Southern gospel thing. And then, me, I was pretty much ticked with the world. I didn't ever want to sing again. I sold every guitar I had at that point, which was one of the dumbest things I've ever done. And I said, well, I just won't sing. If I can't do it like I feel like I want to do it, and I feel like, you know, our direction the Lord was taking us would be successful, then I just won't sing at all. But it showed me, I went 25 years without singing a note. So, so he showed me we could do without you, big boy.
You know, when it came to the end of the Mid-South, when it came to the end of that, we knew it was time to, you know, pack our bags and go. You know, we talked about, can we go back? You know, can we start wearing suits? Can we start singing more of what we used to sing back in the 80s? And, you know, can that work? But, you know, we could have done that, but it wouldn't have been us. And it wouldn't have been y'all if y'all had done that.
No, that's exactly right.
I mean, you went too far to turn back, what I'm trying to say. I don't know if you ever heard this story. You probably did, but when Streetwise came out, the song y'all put out was He's Gonna Make a Comeback.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mike Payne wrote that song. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a pretty heavy song. And I heard that a DJ was getting ready to play it, and he played it on his program, a Southern Gospel station. And when he got through playing it, he said, y'all want to know what I think about this song? And you could hear him breaking the record on the,
I remember
on
that.
the radio station.
I remember that. And then it kind of followed suit. We had several. There towards the end, matter of fact, we were in Georgia on an outdoor concert, and the promoter put us on probably about 11 o'clock that night. And it's probably 4,000 people there, and they stayed. We were the last ones on the show, and they stayed. We started singing, and by the end of our second song, it might have been 100 people there. It was almost like they purposely waited until we got on.
Yeah.
And then, you know, matter of fact, I told somebody the loudest thing was the turnstiles going out the back door.
Yeah, I think Kent told me that story too, and he said all you could hear was the folding chairs.
Yeah, the folding chairs clapping as they're going together.
You can hear them over the PA system. That's
but
pretty sad, you know.
There were some great people in Southern gospel music, and I have a lot of friends still there today, you know,
sure.
And people, it's where I cut my teeth, and I never have knocked or put down Southern gospel music at all. I was raised on it. I think it just wasn't what we wanted to do at the time.
Right.
And unfortunately, there was not a market for it. And
and there was no social media back then. I mean, if we'd have had that back then, no telling what would have happened, you know?
That's right. Absolutely. So basically, Kent left with us and went with Mid-South shortly after that, and had a really good little run with Mid-South, you know, some a double award, I think it was, maybe with Mid-South, and then done really good with that. And I kind of went my way. I never sang another note until, when I say I never sang any, I did sing a song here and there in church or whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't never sing with another group or anything like that. Had hard feelings. I was pretty ticked about it, the whole 9 yards, and so, you know, it was just one of those things that took a long time for me to get over it, me to get past it, and that's kind of, you know, at the point we're at now, the band I'm in now, once we disbanded as the DMB Band, and I heard Kent talk about this right here a little bit. You know, McCrae Dove called me one day and said, "Man, if I could get the guys back together, would you guys sing a song, or 2 or 3 songs in Kinston at a homecoming?"
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, yeah, I would be pretty neat if you could find them. Frank, I hadn't talked to Frank in 25 years, and I wasn't mad, just didn't know who. Now, me and Kent stayed in touch. Olin, I didn't stay in touch with Olin a whole lot. I didn't even know he was back in Nashville hardly until there towards the end. And Jerry Kelso was our piano player, or keyboard player rather. So, you know, when he said, "Let's see if we can do it," and we got everybody together, and man, you know, for a bunch of old guys, we didn't sound too bad. So we thought, well, let's do this once a year. So it's bloomed into a pretty nice little thing in our elder times, you know. Of course, I'm the oldest guy there, and I think it's kind of neat to have Kent's son Jordan in the band, because he rounds out somebody at least under 30 years old. You know, the rest of us old guys are there. But you know, I think it's the Lord's time. It worked out really well. You know, Olin had a bunch of sound equipment. I had a bunch of lights. Olin has a bus company. Kent writes songs. Frank's been at a job long enough. He can take off anytime he needs to take off. And it's just like, boom, here it is. You guys go have fun. And I tell people all the time, I said, you know, I believe in good, wholesome, family Christian entertainment.
Yeah.
And when you come to a Jackson Heights concert today, we sing a lot of music in that hour and 20 minutes. We do very little talking. We sing a lot. And we do bring it down in the middle of our program and talk about Christ and salvation and what he's meant to us, you know, and we have prayer with the congregation. But we never have been one of those, and I know this sounds terrible, the real super spiritual praise and worship kind of groups, you know.
Preaching,
yeah, and it's nothing wrong with that. I'm not. That's just never been what we did. We believed that Christians could have some good, wholesome, Christian faith-based entertainment. And that's what we do even today. And we've kind of built our own little, if you want to call it, a network of churches that we work, maybe a couple of festivals here and there. Mm-hmm. We hardly ever see anybody else in the music business. It's 99% of it we're by ourselves, unless we do a festival like we did with you guys up in Canada, you know, or we don't see anybody. So in the last 5 or 6 years, we built this little network thing, you know, that we kind of just do our own thing, and we have a good time. You guys,
Jackson Heights is the name of the band now, and I've seen you guys several times since you started. You're not full time. You just do what 1 week in a month, I think.
25 to 30 dates a year. That's about it.
And everybody's still working full time jobs, you know. Mm-hmm. But you're flexible now. You've been working those jobs long enough. You can take off, you know, pretty much.
That's right.
You know, and do stuff like that, which is really cool. But if you go here at Jackson Heights, you're not just going to see a bunch of guys up in a church or something with, you know, a half makeshift PA system and old guitars and just standing up there singing songs and trying to figure out what's going to be the next song. It is a full stage production. I mean, it's just like going to a country concert and seeing the lights and the big sound, and it's just an awesome thing to go to. It's unlike most what you see at a regular gospel concert.
Well, you know, it's really funny. We're doing it today like we always wished we could have done it back in the 80s.
Couldn't afford it back then.
We couldn't afford it. You know, the Lord has blessed me with a really good job. You know, Olin, Kent, the whole 9 yards. So when you come to hear us, you know, we have a full lighting system. I mean, not just 1 or 2 lights sitting around.
No, it's professional, man.
It's 2 40-foot pieces of truss full of lighting and the sound and the stage and all. And it's all synced with our music, so it starts and stops, you know, with our band and all that. It works great. And it's like we, you know, I've always said, I think if you come to a church concert, we ought to give you the best we got.
Exactly.
And, you know, there has been some church concerts with the Jackson Heights band that has been kind of slim. And I have been with other people that thought, man, you know what, there's only a handful of people here. Let's give them a CD and go home. No.
Yeah.
I think the people who come, it ain't their fault that other people didn't come.
No.
So we're going to give them an hour and 40 minutes or an hour and 25 minutes of just as good as we've got. with the whole 9 yards. And then hopefully they'll leave and say, man, you guys missed it. You guys really missed a great program.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Next time we go back, we always seem to have a better crowd.
I recommend if you're watching this and you haven't seen Jackson Heights and you remember the Dixie Melody Boys DMB Band days, I mean, it's the same guys that were there except for Jordan. He wasn't even born, but Kinston. I look up there and I see Jordan. I think, man, that looks just like a young Kent up there on the stage. It's pretty awesome.
We're a little heavier, a little heavier in body, a little thinner in hair,
a little grayer,
whiter. You know, that's like I tell people, this right here, I don't bleach it this color. This is pretty much natural. You know,
but it sounds the same as it did 30 years ago. I mean, it's great. You guys are awesome.
And I appreciate that, Bobby. It really means a lot. You know, coming from you, who's been around the music business for a long time.
You know, I'm just whatever God makes me. But anyway, let's talk about, why did you decide? I know when you first started traveling again, you did use DMB Band.
We did.
There for a little while. Why did you decide to make that switch? Because anytime you make a name change, it kind of confuses people. It takes a while to get people to know who you are when you do that. So what was the name change about?
Two things. One, at the time, my daddy was still traveling with the Dixie Melody Boys, and he still has the Dixie Melody Boys. He's not traveling any longer.
Yeah.
He's given up the road. But and people were confusing us with the Dixie Melody Boys because of the DMB Band. Because after the DMB Band, the country part left, and he started back the Dixie Melody Boys, everybody always called it the Dixies or the DMB or whatever.
Yeah.
So there was like, we struggled with that whole name thing. And then people would, you know, we wouldn't let you sing any new music. You know, one thing is, oh, the DMB Band's coming. My goodness, they're going to do Jesus is Light, Good Old Boys, Too Much Thunder. And they would have your program mapped out for you before you ever got there. So, and they wasn't willing to really hear anything new in a lot of cases. So two things. One was that the Dixie Melody Boys are still in business, and we felt like we just needed to do to make a total change. And quite frankly, I think in 1987, if we had done that, we'd have had a better chance at making it. But who knows? But that being said, between the Dixies still traveling and people always asking us about the correlation between the two, we just thought, you know what? There's no time like the present. We're going to start. Hey, that's a great song. There's no time.
It's a great song.
But there was no reason not to try it at this point because we have nothing to lose. And I think it's been a great fit. And Jackson Heights, the name, Kent probably told the guys about it. If somebody's listening or watching tonight that wasn't on the other day, we all lived in a little section in Lenore County around Kinston called Jackson Heights. So when we started putting it together, I think Kent came up and said, man, what about Jackson Heights? We live there. So the only time it's really a problem is when we play Kinston, North Carolina, because everybody thinks we're the praise and worship band from Jackson Heights Free Will Baptist Church.
Oh, you guys did a lot of work at PTL back in the 80s. What was you got to meet Jim and Tammy Baker?
Of course. That was really good. Actually,
what were they like?
They were great. I'll tell you what, they may have had some issues. And I say this all the time, forget about his infidelity with his family situation or whatever. It was a first-class ran operation. And he probably, as an administrator, probably did, you know, the ultimate thing that got him was he was taking money from one thing and spending it on something else. Probably something that most businesses have done.
Sure.
Thousands of times.
Our government does that all the time.
Absolutely. So, and that money probably would have always made it back to where it needed to be. That was a good point. And then that whole affair thing, but it was a great place. And it's a shame because it was a great place for Christian family to go for a week or a weekend or whatever. Yeah. And they had, we were there probably a couple of times a month there towards the end, which was great because it was always good pay, and we sure did need it.
Sure.
In fact, we used to do the Baker Show, and there's 60 million people watched the Baker Show, at the time, and you were in front of a lot of people.
That was big, yeah.
In fact, it's been so long ago, and the only reason I know this, Tammy threw my daddy a 50th birthday party.
Really?
So that's been 34 years ago.
Wow.
That's how long it's been. So she threw my daddy a 50th birthday party. And,
that's pretty cool.
So we used to do all those big singing and stuff.
We started going there and singing after Jim and Tammy had left.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to see where they lived, you know, up at the place, at the hotel or wherever it was, the TV studios. Saw her huge closet where she kept all of her clothes and shoes. It was big as a bus, man.
She was the Christian's Dolly Parton.
What's that?
She was the Christian's Dolly Parton.
Oh, exactly.
Had the wigs and the hair and all the clothes and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Like Dolly says, it costs a lot of money to look this cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Something kind of funny, well, not so funny to you at the time, happened one time when y'all were at PTL with the bus.
Can you
talk about that?
Famous bus wreck.
Yes.
PTL had this called the barn, and all the buses and all.
That's where camp meeting was.
That's right, the camp meeting. It was called the barn. Well, they had all the buses and all. We parked down back for the most part, but when you went around front, there was probably about an 80-foot drop off down into the bottom. Matter of fact, it was such a drop off that the top of the building was level with the ground on the other side. So we're backing down after a concert to pick up our merchandise rack, and the air brakes and just busted and went away, and we went down the hill completely backwards, into the woods and all that stuff. Well, Daddy, he was standing at the front door. Next thing I know, he's out. Well, I thought we killed him. I'm panicking and freaking out, because we can't find him. He's laid over the edge of the woods. What's going on? What's going on? So we tore the bus up and had to have two wreckers to pull it out of the woods. Oh yeah, we got a lot of. Every gospel singer's got a story.
Oh, we've all got hundreds of stories. You're leaving out a few of the details. But Jerry Kelso, your piano player back then, I believe he was there then. It may have been.
He was. Yeah,
it may have been. What was the other guy after him?
Jeff Knight.
Yeah, Jeff Knight. I think it was Jerry though. Kent said that after all that and everything was just, the bus was just going nuts, and he's in the back of the bus. He has no idea what's going on. He just walks up to the front like nothing happened. What's going on?
Yeah. He didn't know what was going on anyway. Jerry, bless his heart.
That's, piano players,
Piano players, they just had that thing. Well, another funny thing on that same wreck, we all had these cubby holes around in the top of the bus, and everybody had a little cubby hole. This was your place. But Craig Ham was sitting at the table, but we always had a little table like a booth, like a restaurant in there. And when that bus kicked one way and back the other way, back when peanut butter came in glass jars, it was a big jar of peanut butter. Fell out and caught Craig on top of it. He pretty much laying back there like,
oh man,
slam out.
So you thought your dad was dead.
I thought Dad was dead. We couldn't find him. I'm up there going, oh God, I'm freaking out, just going crazy,
And one Rayburn was driving bus.
Rayburn was driving, and of course everybody's worst nightmare is somebody that smokes a cigarette. So the first thing Rayburn went, he went, somebody give me a cigarette. Somebody else did. Then he said, you can't smoke no cigarette. We're still at PTL.
and buses, they have air brakes.
Oh yeah.
And so when you get in a bus to start it up after it's been sitting for a long time, a lot of times the air leaks down out of the brakes. And when you crank it up, you got to, hold it there, idle it for a long time till they build up enough where you can release the brake and then take off. And so when you figured out the brakes weren't working, who was up there? Somebody was up there pushing the gas pedal down, trying to build the pressure.
I can't remember. Somebody was on their knee, and it could have been Kent or somebody, but somebody was on the knee holding the accelerator. Wow, going back. So it's made it sound really, really bad.
Yeah.
Instead of just idling down the hill, it sounded like we were running wide open. So
that was scary, but it was kind of funny after. I mean, did it actually go back in the woods and hit him?
Yeah, it went. The front bumper was hanging at the curb. The rest of the bus was in the woods.
Ooh. You had to get a tow truck to get it out.
39 foot of it was in the woods.
But it really didn't
damage, believe it or not. It busted a couple of tail lights out, and other than that, they just pushed it down as it went, I think.
And a tow truck had to come get you out, and that cost you your whole night's pay right there.
Just about. You're exactly right.
There was another, all gospel groups, they pull pranks on each other all the time. And I remember Kent told us a lot of stories about you guys and about you. And he said something about somebody did something to the generator one time.
Ricky Harrell. And actually, Ricky Harrell, he was our drummer, and he was the brunt of a lot of practical jokes. And he would try to get me, and I'd tell him, I said, man, you'll never live long enough to get me. You'll never do it. And for years, he just could not get it. You can't tell this story.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Well, he got me. He finally got me, and I had to hand it to him. He got me really, really well. So he worked good.
So you can tell the folks what
You want me
happened.
to tell the story again?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I'll probably tell it a little bit different than Ken anyway. So Ricky wanted to get me back, so he took a smoke bomb and put it inside the generator bin. Well, I've always was in charge of making sure the generator had enough gas and fuel and all that stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
oil and all that kind of thing. So somebody come into where we were tearing down and said, the generator's on fire. The generator's on fire. So I thought, oh my goodness, we've been having trouble. So I go running out and smoke's just bellowing out of the generator bin. So I reached down to grab the handle and touched it. And I said, oh, it's so hot. Bring me a pair of gloves. Bring me a pair of gloves. I can't open the door. So somebody got me some gloves, and I raised it up, and I kind of puffed the smoke away where I could see it. And I looked in there for the kill button. So I hit that kill button. The generator go, brrr.
Yeah.
And about the time I'd back up, it go, brrr, maybe I'm thinking, so I'd stick in. So I must have done this about 3 times. I'd kill it, and go, brrr, brrr, and I happened to look to my left, and Ricky Harrell was standing at the front of the bus on the auxiliary starting button. And every time I'd cut it off, he'd crank it back. And he got you. What's really bad, what's the most embarrassing thing is the handle was just as cold as a
yeah, and you thought it was hot.
Yeah, it says that mind over matter, that the handle was hot.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I know y'all had a lot of stories, like that.
There's
many more. We got tons of them. But so Jackson Heights is going out and doing concerts now. You say about once a month.
Yep.
And I mean, I recommend them highly. Y'all out there, go see them. If you find out they're going to be around your town, go. You would really enjoy it, thoroughly enjoy it. And,
we have a really good time. Kent writes a lot of material. I've only
Yeah.
written one song in my life, and it was back in the '80s, and we just recorded it again this past year. So it's actually being played a little bit on the Southern Gospel Music
I saw that. I saw where it's doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's doing good. And
Riding the Wind is what it's called.
Riding the Wind, and we're having a good time. And we've got a great guitar player, Jeremy Edwards. He's a guy from Kentucky, and he's a great guy. And what's really funny, we had this roadie that kind of went and helped us, and he was our roadie for a long time. And Danny was we're at the age now that we don't have the physical ability to haul a lot of that equipment in and out all the time. So he was kind of helping us get that with a trailer. We found out he could play. So once he helps us, gets everything set up, hey man, come sit in with us. He's a great rhythm player. He sits back there and plays a little rhythm guitar. And has done really good. And it's kind of neat,
That's
sound
really cool.
guy, Kent, Ken Youngblood, our sound guy, man, he is the man that can really, he just knows what he's doing. And,
he does.
Makes us sound good. And I told him if he could ever figure out how to help me remember all my words at one time, we'd really believe he was a wizard.
Hey, we all have trouble remembering words. You sing a song for 20 years, you still forget them.
At that, but I have made up a many a second verse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Me too. Where can people find Jackson Heights music?
Jackson Heights music is available on our website, which is jacksonheightsmusic.com. It's available on CD Baby. All of our music's there. You can either get it as a hard copy or download it there. You can go to our Bandzoogle, which sponsors our website. That's who our domain is with. When you go to our website, you can actually do a subscription to our newsletter, which we don't really do a newsletter. It's just collecting the addresses and stuff. And we time to time we'll put stuff out on that. But you can request. It comes directly to me right now. And if you want one of our CDs or a T-shirt or whatever we're doing, you can do it right on our website.
And you're on Facebook as well.
Facebook, Instagram, Spotify. Don't talk about it a whole lot. I don't know why, other than you can get it for free at Spotify. So if you want to listen to any Jackson, the last 2 albums of Jackson Heights is on Spotify. So you can actually pull up our last 2 projects on Spotify.
Are you on iTunes and
iTunes? Matter of fact, I don't think there's a single one. Once CD, and I recommend CD Baby. I don't make a dime off this plug I'm fixing to give you, but CD Baby is a great place to run your music through, because once you run through that program, it's on every outlet of music that you can get. Oh yeah, and it's very reasonable.
Yeah, it is.
But we, like I say, we're available there. we don't put out a new project but about every 2 years. I think me and Kent's been talking. The next one's probably going to be a live album. We've done something, technology like me and you were talking about a while ago is so different. We record every night.
Oh, you do?
We record every night, and it's done in where we can actually go back. It's a 32 channel recording, so it can be mixed, fixed, tuned.
Oh, wow.
We needed to tune or whatever.
That's pretty cool.
So we record every night, and we can go into we got enough right now. We could go into the studio and
make a full live project,
make a full length project, and I think we're very close to trying to make that happen.
That's cool. That's really cool, man. This has been great. I appreciate you doing this.
I appreciate you calling me and asking me to do it. It's been kind of neat. I know you're having fun, kind of checking up with all some of your friends that you maybe not talked to on a real regular basis.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed the Martin one the other night. It was good. Of course, let me rephrase this. Rusty Goodman is my all-time favorite singer. But I will have to say, if I had to pick a female singer, day in, day out, Joyce can't toe the line now. I'm telling you,
she's pretty good. She's really good.
And it's just spot on all the time. I'm sure she has her bad nights, and but and I don't know that I've ever met the Martins. I know that they kind of come on the scene after we quit, and now that I think about it, they came to our church one time in Kinston. They done Tanglewood, and I still don't know if I met them that night or not, because I might have just been one of the people in the crowd at the church. But they got it together. But Joyce can flat sing. That's for sure.
Flat sing and flat write too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And when they all sing together, it's just awesome.
Yeah. Well, families. Well, it's just like you can, something about families. First of all, you're raised together. You phrase your word the same. You don't say wash and wash, and
that's true.
You say your words the same way, so it just works out really, really, really well.
Speaking of talking, your dad has a I don't know if it's just East Carolina, or that Georgia accent, like Jimmy Carter, but you don't really talk that way. Why is that?
It's because I'm educated. I went all 12 years.
You say your dad's not educated?
I went all 12 years. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't really think about that. Maybe, I don't know. I don't really notice that brogue.
He does his R's.
North Carolina has a lot of brogues.
North Carolina,
North Carolina.
They say instead of R,
That's right.
Yeah. Man, this coronavirus stuff is keeping us from traveling. Of course, y'all too. I'm sure y'all had to cancel some dates.
Oh yeah, everything's canceled through May right now.
When do you think you're going to be able to go back out, and what do you have scheduled?
I don't. I'd have to right now. I'd have to probably look at the calendar just to see where we're at. I know that 4th of July we're in St. Louis area, out in that way. Okay. And June we're in Florida, but Georgia, Florida area. But so we got June booked. We got July booked. We're not going to do anything in August. We do have September open right now, and I think we may end up doing a North Carolina swing for September. Two things. We'd love to do a couple of videos, and I've got an avenue now if somebody wants to help us with a video. So, but I got to be in Eastern North Carolina to get it done. So hopefully we'll be back in North Carolina this year. Miss out, since we only do about 30 dates a year, we missed out on a whole bunch this year ourselves. So we won't get as much done, and nobody else will. Thankfully, like I say, we all have jobs, and we've gotten along pretty fair. I really have had the gospel music guys and girls in my thoughts and prayers, because I'm gonna tell you, when they're not traveling, $0. Most
right. That's right.
And it's got to hit hard home. And I tell you, it's going to be amazing. There's going to be a lot of groups hurting really bad financially when this is over. And I hope the industry, when I say industry, not the industry, but the people who come out to gospel music give a little extra money when they come back, because these guys are going to really need it.
That would really be helpful. That's for sure. Alan, thanks so much for doing this.
Bobby, thank you. I appreciate it, and love you, brother. And maybe we can do it again.
If you can get your dad on a computer, I'd love to interview him.
I might see what I can come up with. He's right now. Honestly, Bobby, he's struggling walking. He's not doing very good walking, and he's lost sight in one eye and really bad in the other. So he's really gone downhill in the last year. Maybe I can get him close by or something. I'll give you a holler. See what we got.
What is he now? 80, 84?
He'll be 84 in May.
Wow, man.
So, but we'll try it.
Okay, sounds great, man.
Thank you for the offer, buddy. Thank you for being
You're welcome. And I can't wait for folks will be watching it as we're talking right now. But anyway, if there's a pastor or a promoter out there that wants a real good, clean family, awesome Christian country concert, look no further than Jackson Heights. Get a hold of Alan or Kent and have them. You won't regret it, I guarantee you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thanks, Alan.